What's up, everyone? So today we are going to be doing a very unique concept called Bhavat Bhavam, and what happens when you use the concept of Bhavat Bhavam in your own horoscope. And it's a very important concept in astrology, not just Vedic astrology but also Western astrology. Okay, so Bhavat Bhavam is a house-to-house concept, and most people mistake Bhavat Bhavam for just Lord of the house through different houses. Like, let's say if I was doing fifth house Lord in the seventh house, that's not Bhavat Bhavam. Bhavat Bhavam is the house that you're looking at. You go exact number of places from that house. So if I'm looking at the fifth house and I want to judge what's going to happen with my children, education, performing arts, and my past life deeds, I also have to look at fifth from the fifth. So fifth house, 5 places from the fifth house is the ninth house. So ninth house also is the indicator of children, higher learning. It's an indicator of your past life deeds. It's an indication of how fortunate you are. And obviously it's an indication of how your karma is in this life. So Bhavat Bhavam concept is based on that. So let's say the first house. First house does not have Bhavat Bhavam because first house is first. You can go first from the first because first from the first is the first house. Because you always have to put number 1 on the very house that you're trying to count from. So second house is where Bhavat Bhavam concept starts from. So second house is the house of your wealth, house of your family history, house of your income, house of your, how much wealth and assets you're gonna have, house of your voice, communication. But in order to judge how well this is going to be, you look at Bhavat Bhavam concept. So second from the second becomes the third house. So you put the first place on the second house, and then you count 2 places from that. So 1, 2. So third house becomes the concept for the second house. It becomes the higher self of the second house. It becomes gains of the second house. So third house shows the way if you're going to be making wealth or not depends on your willpower, depends on your efforts, depends on your communication. So communication is not only the second house but also the third house. Now, let's take the third house. Third house is also the house of media. It's a house of your creativity, house of reporting, house of journalism, house of marketing and sales. Anytime you have to make an impression on people to do something. Now, if you want to see how creative you're going to be and if you're going to be a good actor or not, if you're going to be a good performer or not, you don't just look at the third house. You look at third from the third, which is the fifth house. So fifth house becomes the higher self of the third house. Fifth house also shows performing arts. Fifth house also shows creativity. Fifth house shows script writing and drama and stage plays. And it's a fun house. It's not only a house of hobby and skills, but it's a house of sports. So it becomes more advanced of the third house. So if you're trying to see if you're going to be an actor, a good actor, or if you're going to be making into the film industry, don't just look at the third house. You have to look at the fifth and third house both. Both will tell you, especially the fifth house, to see how your performing arts or creativity is going to be in the world. If you're trying to judge children, if you're trying to see, okay, will I have children? What kind of children will I have? When will I have children? Don't just look at the fifth house that represents children. But you got to look from fifth from the fifth, which means that you put the first place on the fifth house and you count 5 places, which is the ninth house. Ninth house becomes the higher self of the fifth house. And fifth house, along with children, is also education. So ninth house is also the indicator of your children, but also the indicator of your higher knowledge, higher educational skills. Meaning that if you got your bachelor's degree from the fifth house, now you want to see if you're going to be able to get master's degree, PhD, or doctorate degree, you look to the ninth house. Ninth house is your higher learning. So each house concept becomes a higher of that concept. This is not like second from the fifth. If your fifth lord is in the sixth house, that's just a house to house concept. I just put that in the title just so people get to see what I'm talking about. But mainly it's from the fifth. Same thing you can do with the marriage. If you want to see when you're going to get married, usually people just look at the seventh house and the seventh lord, or what planet is sitting in the seventh house. But then people are like, why did I get married in my first house, Mahadasha? Well, guess what? Seventh house, you count 7 places from the seventh. Seventh from the seventh becomes the first house. yourself. So 7th house represents your partnerships, your legal partnership, your bondage, your marriage, your spouse. But first house also represents that, because why? Because you yourself are going to be the one who's going to choose your partner. The ascendant tells a lot what you want in a partner. So if you're a Taurus ascendant, you want security in a partner. You want somebody to be stable. You want somebody to be consistent in life. But 7th house also tells that personality that he's going to be very dynamic. He's going to be very forceful. He's going to be very much deeply, passionately in love with you. But at the same time, he's providing security to you. And those two matches need to be there with that person in order for you to marry them. So you see how this house to house concept works. I'll give you another example. 4th house. 4th house represents your homeland. 4th house represents your people at home, your childhood, your mother, your relationship with the mother, what kind of a convenience you have in your life. Do you have vehicles? Do you not have vehicles? All of these things are seen from the 4th house. Now, in order to judge that, and also judge the fact that are you going to move to foreign lands, or are you not going to move to foreign lands? How big of a house you're going to be? How good of a life you're going to have in your home? You don't just look at the 4th house, but 4th from the 4th, which is the 7th house again. So you look at the 4th house and 7th house in order to judge foreign travels and life inside the home. Why? Because 4th house is a house of home, okay, besides the mother. But 7th house is a house of marriage. And once you get married, you don't live in a jungle, you still live in a home. So that becomes your new home life. So this is why it's very important to look at this from the 4th concept of, of Bhavat Bhavam. Career. If you're going to see how your reputation is going to be, how well people are going to perceive you, what career you're going to have, how much of a recognition you will have, you not only look at the 10th house, but you look at 10th from the 10th, which is what? The 7th house. 7th house is also the higher self of the 10th house. It shows what profession you're going to be, how you're going to project yourself to other people. Because 7th house is the house of other people. And how people see you as, oh, he's a lawyer, oh, he's a doctor, oh, he's an artist, oh, he's a writer, oh, he's an astrologer. All of these things can also be seen from the 7th house. So when you judge your 10th house, look at the 7th house as well. So Bhavat Bhavam concept becomes very important. And another secret is, when you're using Mahadasha, a time to predict something, Bhavat Bhavam is the most important thing. So if let's say you're going to judge, when are you going to have children? What year you will have children? What Mahadasha you will have children in? Don't just look at the 5th house and the 5th house Lord, but look at the 9th house Lord and look at the planets in the 9th house. But mainly 9th house Lord. 5th house Lord and 9th house Lord will become the determination of your children. Same thing with marriage. I've seen many people, even in last week, I saw somebody, actually that's what sparked me to do this Bhavat Bhavam video. Last week, I did the small, email consultation for someone, and they got married in their 1st house Lord Dasha. And then it suddenly struck me. I'm like, you know what? People really don't know about this. That somebody can not only get married in the 7th house Mahadasha, 7th house Lord Mahadasha, but also the first house Lord, because it's 7th from the 7th. So you yourself can also activate who you're going to marry and when you're going to get married. So 1st house Lord is also important regarding marriage. Same thing with promotion. If you're going to look for promotion, or if you're going to look for a better job, don't just look at the 10th house, look at the Mahadasha of the 7th house. That can prompt promotion for you as well. So, and if you, let's say 12th house, 12th from the 12th. 12th house is a house of losses, spirituality, imagination, getting lost in monasteries and sanctuaries and foreign lands. But 12th from the 12th is the 11th house. And 11th house is what? Is a house of your hopes and wishes. And if your hopes and wishes are going to come true or not. So if you want to go to foreign land, settle in foreign land, if you want to be a spiritual person, if you want to go into meditation and yoga and all sorts of, spiritual realm and psychic realm, don't just look at the 12th house, but look at the 11th house. Are your wishes being fulfilled for the 12th house? So 11th house becomes strong. So it's like astrology. Astrology is represented by the 12th house because it's a spiritual science. But in order to see if somebody is going to be astrologer, you look at their 2nd house, 5th house, 8th house, and 11th house, not the 12th house. So 11th house becomes that gain, 12th of the 12th, Okay, so you have to see this concept to determine when is something going to happen. Are you going to be spiritual or not? Are you going to, because in 11th house, you can open up spiritual organizations. So 12th from the 12th becomes important. 6th from the 6th, 11th becomes important. 8th house is a house of transformation, major ups and downs. It's about death and rebirth. But guess what? 8th from the 8th is a third house. Third house is also known as a mild malefic. And third house is known as the house of effort, house of working hard, discomfort, going out there and trying to transform yourself and have a better life, or maybe go into the worst life. But it's 8th from the 8th concept. So when you're looking at somebody, well, I don't usually never recommend time of death or something. But if you're going to look at, surgeries, if somebody's going to have surgeries or somebody's going to have, accidents or some ups and downs, don't just look at the 8th house, but look at the 3rd house, all right? So guys, this is my little concept of Bhavad Bhavam. And the reason why I was doing this series is because next week I'm going to start on, after I'm done with sun through signs, I'm going to start on house to house series. Meaning the 1st house and the 2nd house, 1st house and the 3rd house, 1st house and the 4th house, and all the lords through houses. And the reason why I said Bhavat Bhavam, because it's a part of the house to house concept. So if I'm doing 3rd lord through houses, if I go 3rd from the 3rd, you'll know it's a Bhavat Bhavam concept. All right. So guys, if you want to know where your lords of houses are placed, check out the links below. Check out my books there, Astrology at the Speed of Light and Conjunctions at the Speed of Light. And when you get these books, I will send you the link to look at your own chart. Just make sure you follow the directions below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.